Hi fellas, are you of Germanic, French, European, British extraction, but you've really been made to feel ashamed? Ashamed of being white, ashamed of having European views, ashamed of long established family roots? Well, don't be, because back in the 7th and 8th century it was only Germans, English and French that saved the whole Western world from complete dominance by savage, slave-taking, genocidal Islam. Yeah, you'll be shocked to hear this, won't you? Yeah, it's always been genocidal. The Prophet of Islam, or so he called himself, was an illiterate 54-year-old warlord who enjoyed raping children, who cut, we don't know how many, who probably cut scores of throats. It's in their book. He did slice the throat of 4 or 5 people, including a Jewish leader called Assad, no relation to Bashar, including many people, a Jewish leader at the first village Banu Qurayza, and it even states, so detailed, it even states he was wearing a pink ornate gown with sequins on it. And this Jewish guy, the Jewish chieftain, deliberately put cuts into it because he knew he was probably going to get his head chopped off and robbed. All the inhabitants of all these early villages, the male folk, were beheaded. They do a blitzkrieg attack, usually on horseback, as it was going dark or early morning. ISIS still do this, by the way. Isn't that strange? Yeah, they do a blitzkrieg type attack. They'd immediately seize control of the village, execute all the men folk. Usually we used to look in the younger boys' pants. If they had pubic hair, they got butchered with their parents. If they didn't have pubic hair, the fate wasn't much better because they got sold to old perverts like Monster Mo. Yes, old Monster Mo, who in their holy book did molest at least 60 young girls and an unknown number of young boys. There were 2 young boys mentioned he was abusing and raping when people came into his tent, and he was so unashamed he didn't even stop his sexual abuse on these 2 boys. And they even forgive this. They even forgive this of old Monster Mo. So basically, whether your name's kind of like mine, Bond, an old English name, whether your name's Scottish, whether your name's German, Dutch, wherever you come from in the world originally, and you've settled in Canada and the USA, please be very proud, or try to be very proud of your roots. Don't let yourself be beaten down by these communists and these far left-wingers and a CNN fake news who are telling you about peaceful Islam. It's never been peaceful. Islam has killed about 250 or 300 million people. I mean, it makes Hitler look like an angel almost over a longer period. And the whole of Islam is extremely racist and hateful and supremacist. It actually says in the Quran several times, about 4 or 6 times if I'm not mistaken, how white-skinned Muhammad was, how good it was he was so light-skinned. This is part of their fascination with our white-skinned girls, isn't it? Who they do attack, many of them, not all of them, they do attack all over Europe, as in Cologne, as in Rotherham, as in London, as in Yorkshire now. Speak up, try and be brave. I mean, my grandfather fought in the First World War. He survived, he came home and had a family. He always spoke his mind. He was a straight-talking mank, a mank working in engineering, and he went out to France and did his duty. Luckily he wasn't in the trenches, so he came back unscathed. He used to fix aeroplanes, DH2s, DH4s, sort of Camels, what have you, triplanes. My father too, he was a veteran. He fought all across North Africa, into Italy, saw some terrible things. Saw his US and Canadian friends get their heads blown off in Monte Cassino. But nowadays, it shames me. Some of you lefties now, you mock the right guys, and you guys working for the county councils, driving your Audis, and you teachers, you need your asses kicking, to be quite frank. And that includes my relative, who is one. But carrying on this with the peaceful Islam hoax, peaceful Islam BS, they're still, in England and the USA and Canada, they're still holding the little girls down, pulling their legs apart and cutting out the clitorises with razor blades in the USA and Canada today, and screaming agony to keep them subjugated. We've never done this in the Western world. We've always valued our women's sexuality, our women's our women's place in the world. Even hundreds of years before they got the vote, we always valued our women and our kids. Under Islam, they're just tools to use. That's all they are. I mean, this is why it's so common, I believe. Like these Bachi boys, little boys, poor, always poor, little boys, dress up as little girls, so old, rich, perverted Arab men can bum them, and if they want to, cut their throats. This is still going on today in the Middle East and Afghanistan. So, next time you hear about, oh, the Crusaders were evil, they weren't. The Arabic armies had already taken all of Spain, had occupied all of Spain, mainland Spain, previously Catholic, faithful Spain. They occupied it for 400 years. Do you know when they stopped? 727, I think it was, the Battle of Tours in southern France, right at the bottom of France, and that was only because Pope, I think it was Pope Urban, actually came up with a load of gold to pay these German warriors, and the guy nearly got his head cut off for it. So if they hadn't been stopped pushing up through France, when they'd taken the whole Middle East, Morocco, Lebanon, Palestine, Iraq, Iran, all these countries that used to be Christian, for 600 years they were Christian before this barbaric monster Mo arrived. So, the point I'm trying to get down to saying is, we shouldn't be scared to speak our truth, to speak the truth of history. We shouldn't be scared to hold our heads up and say, well, yeah, I'm Christian heritage. Even if you don't believe, it doesn't matter, because the Christian influence on the West has been enormous. It shapes our laws, it shapes our morals, it shapes everything. So, for heaven's sake, be men like us, be men like our forefathers were. Stop being bloody cowards. Speak the truth, for God's sake. See you guys.